So, after all these years, the third season of Young Justice is finally out. Well, out in America at least, since DC Universe is the only way to watch the show, and it's only available in America. But I'll get back to that in a minute. First, let me say that the clips I'm using in this video are from the first two seasons of Young Justice, since I can't legally use the clips from the third season of Young Justice, at least not at the time of making this video. But let's get to it. Is the show good or bad? Short answer? It's good. It's very good. Long answer? Well, it's hard to say exactly how it is, as we've only had the first 3 episodes, so my review and my initial reactions is of course based on only these 3 episodes. But so far, it seems to be carrying on much in the same vein as Season 1 and 2, though I'd say it has a lot more in common with Season 2 than with Season 1. As Season 1 had individual episodes with different plots. There was an overall scheme of the lights in play, yes, but it wasn't really the focus of the episodes. It was more a background plot that was just happening as the other episodes carried on. Whereas the second season had more of an ongoing theme and story. Yes, a lot of the plots did stand on their own, but for the most part it was all tied together with the main story and the mystery that led the season. And that was of course the Reach and what they were doing on Earth. And Season 3 looks to be pretty much the same, with a continuous plot going on throughout the season. And the groundwork of that plot and building up of the characters in Season 3 is well underway. It's only been 3 episodes, but straight off the bat you can see that the universe is being fleshed out, with Batman forming his own team, and Beast Boy becoming a celebrity who's no longer a hero, but very much in the public eye, trying to help promote a charity for helping kids who are being kidnapped. And changes to the team that have happened over the time skip. Aqualad is now the leader of the Justice League, not on the team. Most of the League are working out in space. Costume changes have happened to a lot of characters. I actually quite like the one they've done for Aqualad. There's also costume changes to some other characters, including Kid Flash and Wonder Woman. And most surprising of all, Miss Martian is now a bald white Martian. She's clearly getting more comfortable with her white Martian roots. And I actually quite like the way they've done this with Miss Martian, with her slowly coming out of her shell more and more. Who knows, after the next time skip she may actually look a lot more like her original Martian form. Though since it's actually a little monstrous, no offence, but it is a bit monstrous to other humans, they probably won't go that far. Now, these aren't the focus of the first 3 episodes, but they are clearly the foundations for more of the story that's going to unfold as the season goes on. And I kind of hope that it's handled a little bit better than Season 2 was. You see, in Season 2 there are a lot of changes that took place during the 5-year time skip, but some of them, actually quite a lot of them, were never fully explained. I kept expecting an episode with flashbacks explaining why the characters had made such drastic changes. And though things were explained here and there, we never got answers on so many different things. There was a lot of it that was hinted at in the season, and the comics did actually have a lot more info to flesh out what had happened in the time skip, but there was still so much left untold. And personally, I would have just liked a few flashbacks just to explain a bit more. I mean, I appreciate they're telling a story of these characters over their whole lives, and when you're doing that, you've got to do time skips. After all, we can't expect them to grow up at the same pace as us. This is a TV show after all. And I have no problem with them doing it like that. I actually quite like this type of storytelling. Partly because you have to pay attention and engage with the show, and you also can watch the show many times, and each time you might notice something that you never noticed before, and you'll understand the characters and the universe that bit more. And it's just a very interesting way of watching TV. But for me, Season 2 relied too much on the time skip. So much had happened to so many characters, and we never found out how it happened, and most of all, why it happened. And like I say, it's not a bad thing having a time skip, but I think that 5 years may have been too much. And to be fair, the third season only has a time skip of 2 years, instead of 5. So maybe the creators felt the same way, and they realised that although a time skip is a very useful storytelling device, if you skip too many years too quick, then it leaves so much left unexplained. So maybe the third season will, hopefully, explain a lot more of the changes that have happened to the characters over the last 2 years. I mean 2 years in the universe after all, it's actually been 6 years since the show was cancelled. Now, I will be honest, I actually kept my expectations for this series quite low. Let me explain why. The show has been gone for a very long time, and we had no idea what to expect. And when I actually saw that the characters had slightly different designs made to them, I thought it was a herald of the show changing into something new and something not so good. And I have said before that I dislike the artwork change, and I stand by that. For some reason they've made changes to the characters. I mean, for the most part these are actually quite slight changes, but I notice it a lot with Nightwing's face. and it's just a bit weird to see his old voice with a slightly different face. He doesn't look that different, it's kind of like he's just had a facelift, and a lot of other characters also look a bit like this. Batman has the same problem. His design very closely matches the design of the New 52 movie's Batman. And I'm not saying it's a bad design, it's actually quite good, but it's a bit different to the one we've seen before. And when I see the classic Bruce Greenwood Batman voice coming out of it, it just seems weird, as I keep expecting the New 52 voice. I mean, it may just be me, and other people might not even be noticing this, but it's just a bit weird to me. But to be fair, it's a relatively small change, and I think it's one that I'll easily get used to given a little time. After all, this is hardly the biggest difference in the world. Especially since the only major change to the show seems to be this cosmetic one, as the show itself is really good. And I have to say that the creators have done an amazing job. I'm already hooked and can't wait for the rest of the season after only 3 episodes. And waiting for the next episodes leads me to my biggest complaint about this show. I absolutely hate the fact that this show is only available to watch in America. Because I don't live in America, I live in England, hence why I have this English accent. And this means that I've had to pirate the episodes to watch them. And this is really annoying. I would very gladly pay to watch the show if I could, because I would love to support the show and help make sure there's a 4th season. But I can't, because DC have made a setup where the billions of people outside of America can't watch their show. And so obviously everyone will just watch it illegally. It's the modern age, and the fact that DC haven't worked this out is monumentally stupid. I feel like they're literally refusing my business, whereas I'm like Fry in Futurama.
Shut up and take my money!
And yes, I know that the show will likely end up on Netflix once the season is finished, but I can't wait that long. I've waited 6 goddamn years after all, so my patience is pretty limited at this point. I also dislike the fact that since I have to pirate it, I'm having to wait a couple of days after the episodes have been released. Hence why this review is coming out so late. It's taken me so long to get hold of the episodes, I haven't had much time to finish it. I mean, by the time I finish this video, it's probably going to end up being the Friday where another 3 episodes are being released, and I can't even talk about them because I'm not going to be able to watch them for another couple days after that. But aside from that, I actually quite like how the episodes are being released. 3 episodes a week is a pretty good idea. I mean, I probably would prefer to have the whole season out at once and just binge it, but with that being said, this way is good, if we could actually view it outside of America at least. But the 3 episodes idea stretches out the enjoyment of watching the show, and at the same time we're getting an hour's worth of content each week, which is how long most DC animated films are. So essentially we're getting a new DC film every week, which is pretty damn good. I mean, if this is actually the future of DC Universe, then I do hope it takes off amazingly, and I also hope they let it be available outside of America. And also, the last half of the 3rd season being released is actually going to be released in 4 episodes, which means we'll literally be getting the length of an animated DC film at the end of the first half of the season, and presumably the very end of the season. I also like the little features of the show, such as the spiral tech. When Superboy and Black Lightning are planting cameras in one of the episodes, we see through the eyes of the camera, and the faces of both Superboy and Black Lightning are just spiral shapes. And then later on, a woman is trying to film a fight scene where Superboy is present, and her phone has a spiral over Superboy's face. And this is because of spiral tech that blurs all cameras, so a person's face can't be seen. Dick Grayson actually used it during his tenure as a secret agent for Spiral. And it looks like they're actually now using it in the show as well, which I personally think is a fantastic little touch. And in the comics, the spiral tech also works on people's memories, meaning that people can't remember what that person looked like once they're out of their line of sight. Though whether they'll copy that over to the show is another story, because affecting someone's memory is a much larger thing than affecting some camera feed, so we'll have to wait and see if that's the case in the show. And I have to say that it's things like this that make Young Justice one of the best DC shows ever made. There are these little nods to the comics that are there just a lot of the time in the background. There's no attention call to it, it's just part of the show. And it's this universe building that is a great part of Young Justice, and it makes you believe that what you're watching is actually real. And I love how it's linking things to the comics. Yes, I'm geeking out a little bit over this, but come on, it is pretty cool. And yes, in case you haven't guessed, I'm a total comic book geek. Just look at the rest of my channel, it's fairly obvious. But ultimately, my review and my reaction of the episodes so far is this. If you like the 1st and 2nd season, particularly the 2nd season because, as I say, the 3rd seems to be copying things they did in the 2nd, then you will almost 100% like this. There are a few minor changes, but it's mainly cosmetic, and the show still has solid writing, and the show's universe is being treated with a lot of respect, which is a very important factor when we're talking about a show like this. And since this show is online, it's also no longer limited by the restraints of a TV show, meaning we can expect more mature themes and much darker stories, such as small children being kidnapped, turned into monsters, and then killed by the superheroes. This is actually from the first 3 minutes of the first episode. It gets really dark. And of course, prejudice and sexuality are themes that can be used freely. To be fair, they've always been present in Young Justice. In fact, Greg Weisman has actually said that there are gay and bisexual characters on the show already. So these issues have always been there. The problem has been, because of the restrictions placed on what is ultimately a show aimed for children, they've not really been able to discuss it, because these themes are considered too mature for young audiences. But that constraint is no longer there, so we're going to see Young Justice as the writers always intended it. And though it is the early days yet, as we've only had 3 episodes when I'm making this video, I think I can safely say that this series is only going to get better as it goes along. But what do you think of this show? Have you seen the first 3 episodes, or the episodes that come after if you're watching this further enough in the future? If you have, please feel free to let us know in the comments what you think of it and where you think the show is going. And I'd just like to say a quick thank you to those who made this video possible by donating to the Needlemass Productions page on Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.